It's Batman time! Hello, welcome to another figure review. Today we're going to have a look at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Azrael in the Batman armor, also known as the AzBat. What that means, this is the one armor, one of my favorite designs from the comic book series Batman Knightfall, where Bane breaks the bat and Azrael, for a short time, takes up the mantle of Batman, and this is the armor he makes for himself. It's a 90s as hell design, and I just love it. I'm in love with the character, in love with the armor, so I had to get this one. Let's have a look at it. This figure stands at about 18.5 centimeters to the top of his horn, so like 18 to the top of the helmet, which goes to 7.4 inches tall. Size comparisons. Here's Jolter, the SH Figure Arts Son Gohan, Naka Michelangelo, McFarlane Toys Thomas Wayne, and also Red Hood, the Marfax Azrael Batman, and Darkseid. Overall look in detail, this figure is amazing. It has a presence first and foremost. I like the size of it, the broad shoulders and whatnot. However, there are some issues I want to say. There's some lack of paint going on all throughout it. However, considering that this is a lot more budget-friendly type figure than my usual reviews, like the Figmas and whatnot, I ain't too mad about it. So first and foremost, the head sculpt, I love it. I love this rectangle look on it, because obviously it is a mask, it is more like a helmet, and there's no mouth or whatever we need on there. However, we do have like very exaggerated molding in the eyebrows and really angry looking, with the only kind of paint we have on it are the eyes and a tiny patch of gold on the collar. Once again, going back to these shoulders, I just love these broad shoulders with the cape attached to it. And as far as the gold in the chest and the shoulders itself go, there's nothing on it. It's just like this gold plastic, which does look decent enough, but you can tell this line on the bicep is painted in nice metallic gold, and it does stand out a little bit, and it would have been nice if they would have added that. Then we go down to the pouches, which once again I think they are painted, even though they're like a single piece. So I don't know, they didn't really have to paint it. And you have this weird flap over here. Now on one hand, I'm saying the flap, it's not accurate because this should be part of the outfit. This should just be painted on there. However, they did something cool with the articulation, which I'll get to in just a second. Also, there's all kinds of texturing in the gray all throughout the body, which kind of goes a little bit weird over here because it goes to the side over on this side, and then in the middle it's straight with the bulge, and then on that side it just kind of goes up like a wave. So I don't really know what's going on with that. And in the back we got his huge cape, which doesn't really get in the way too much. There's a lot of molded detail in there, so it's fine, but obviously it's just a plastic cape, not really much you can do with it. Then we have the big gloves, the big gauntlet with the spiky claws on there, with the only kind of gold paint going on in there, inside of that. But overall, I love the mold of these things. Very metal, and another set of pouches, and down to the bat wings, which stick out of the legs, which is just a single piece. It looks kind of ugly, but then again, you don't really go looking for that, unless you want to. But one of the highlights of this figure is the articulation. They really stuffed a whole bunch of cool ideas into this figure, how to move it around. First and foremost, I think the head is on a dumbbell, because you can shift it around, does tilt side to side, and forward, downward, and all the way around. The collar does get into the way, but you can kind of tuck it in there and try to move it around. I guess it doesn't really go all the way because of the collar, which is soft-ish, so I guess you can heat it up and move it into a different position. But still, what we're getting is very good. And then for the shoulder, I think this is just like a Storm Collectibles ball joint in there on a hinge, covered up with this nice kind of gold ring. So you can move it up and down, you can shift it a little bit, and it doesn't really go forward that much, but you do also have the hinge to kind of work with that, and you do get some nice poses out of it. And for the bicep swivel, it goes all the way around. Over here you have the double hinged elbow, which doesn't look great, but it's functional, and the hand is on a ball hinge, so you can bring that up and down, and also swivel it. Now for the entire chest area, you have this upper part, the gold part, just connected to the white, so you do have some nice rotation in there, forward, backward, tilt side to side, and you can also swivel it, no problemo. And now for the hip part, as I was talking about, well, the hips, the waist, whatever you want to call it, this is on another ball, I believe, because you can rotate it around, and there is why they cut it up like that. You have this flap over here. So this moves around. It's a little stiff and it's kind of restricted by the pouches, but it does work. You can bring it side to side and has a little bit of back and forth motion and a little bit of tilting as well. So the way they made this, I feel like is a really cool idea, and it works. And it doesn't break up the sculpt, because if you paint this on there and you move this one around, it doesn't look good anymore. It doesn't look natural anymore. Although I guess the pouches would have covered up for it a little bit, but still. I like the idea. The lag moves forward, out to the side, to the back, and you can also rotate it on here a little bit, because you have this kind of weird hinge joint, a little bit of ratcheting going on, and then you have the double hinged knees, which have the same kind of feature, a little ratcheting going on. And for the foot, it's first and foremost, they added a swivel to it. This entire piece just rotates around, no problem. And then you have a very nice pivot, goes out to the side. Well, more like the inner side and like the outside of it. Doesn't really work so much, because I guess you have more of a gap over here than on the other side. And I can't, oh, there we go, never mind. Really depends on the angle, and also moves forward, backward, and you do have a toe hinge. And as far as the accessories goes, you don't really have any except for the cart, which has the exact same thing than you have on the box, and also a tiny base of just a pack for the foot, which you don't really need, so I'm not caring about it. Final thoughts! This figure is amazing, and it brings back the points that McFarlane Toys sometimes does amazing figures with great articulation, great look at a relatively small price. Now, the only sacrifices here are, first and foremost, well, we don't have any accessories. Another set of hands, like fist hands or like pointy fingers, would have been nice, but it's fine. Other than that, I didn't really talk about the color scheme in general. At first, I was like, I don't like the color scheme of this figure because it's so like muted and kind of boring looking. But the more I look back on the comic books of the Knightfall saga, I really realized, like, yeah, it really depends who drew the issue, because every time, that's like the thing with comics, they're vastly inconsistent depending on who draws it. You might have an artist for 5 issues and then you have another one for another 5 issues, etc. So as such, we got some varying results, and you know, the more I look at this figure, the more this color scheme kind of grows on me. And yeah, just other than that, I have zero complaints about this one. Again, I wasn't even going to pick it up, but I heard a lot of good stuff about it, and I wanted to pick it up for myself, and I'm not disappointed. So 100% recommended for everybody who's a fan of the Batman, of this armor, of this design. I can highly, highly, highly recommend it, because it's a great piece for your collection. And that's going to do it, guys. As usual, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this review, hit it up with a like, and subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for figure reviews, card game stuff, and whatever the Azrael Batman wants.